Hello everybody, it's Ann McMillan popping on live to talk to you tonight about some more cooking tips. And guess what? I'm not at my own house, which you can probably tell because there's a beautiful quilt hanging behind me and I'm on a big square table. So let me tell you where I'm at and give you a little bit of details about this. So, you know, doing freezer meals are such a time saver, but they're also such a great gift that you can give friends, family, neighbors, anybody that you know maybe is going through a tough time, maybe has a super busy family schedule, maybe somebody that you know doesn't enjoy cooking. And I like to make freezer meals for friends and family. And so tonight I am coming to you live from the Nest in Conrad, Iowa, which happens to be my cousin Heidi's store. Downstairs is Hen and Chick Studio, which is her quilting and craft shop. Upstairs is the Nest, which maybe at the end I'll unhook my camera and show you around, but I try to come over here once a month just to have a mental break and be creative. There are people here that make beautiful quilts like this. Who knows what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm doing rug hooking, sometimes I'm doing wool applique. I don't even own a sewing machine, but I love to come here for the camaraderie, the positiveness, and the creativity from other people. And what's really cool is Heidi, the owner, who is my cousin and like my dear sister, anybody can come. She has these open retreat days, and so you can come, and I did that today. But I hung around because I wanted to go live from here, and I wanted to make a couple freezer meals to put in Heidi's freezer for her very busy family schedule. And there's a full kitchen up here, bathroom, showers, you name it. So you can come and stay, and it's a getaway. But I wanted to just give a couple freezer meal tips tonight because I know this is something that a lot of people wish they would do, and they just don't take the time to plan. So a couple suggestions. You really don't need a ton of kitchen tools to have a great freezer meal assembly, but you do need the right tools, and it's really fun to do this with a friend or two or a family member or two because then you can kind of mass produce and divide and conquer. But tonight it's just me, but I am making a double batch of a couple things, so I'll show you a quick tip that way and give you a couple ideas, and then of course, like always, I'll post the recipes for you. And I should tell you one other thing. I have not cracked open this bottle of wine yet, but you know how some of you love the cocktail segment. Well, this is Brick Arch Winery from West Branch, Iowa, and Heidi sells it here at Hen and Chick Studios, and it's also a cousin of hers. They own this winery. So a lot of fun that you can have this here while you're there too. But I haven't opened that up yet tonight, so we'll see. But so a couple tips on freezer meals. When you've decided that you're going to jump in and make some freezer meals for your family to save yourself some time, I recommend that you don't try to do all the different proteins in the same freezer meal assembly. Like, don't try to do chicken, beef, pork, and seafood all in the same time. That just really complicates things. So I tonight just picked two. I am doing a simple freezer beef stew, and then I am doing a taco stuffed shells recipe. And it just simplifies. And instead of making 4 different things, I'm making doubles of each thing, okay? So I wanna show you just an idea on assembly. And you can see in this pan, but I have the ingredients for the beef stew, which was potatoes, carrots, onions, celery, the beef. I have seasoned it. Absolutely one of my go-tos is the crushed peppercorn and garlic from our pantry line. And really, to do this, you need a good vegetable peeler, you need a great knife, a great cutting board, and remember, we carry 2 kinds. We carry the cutting sheets that have the sticky on the back, and we carry the typical white boards with the silicone edges so they don't slide around. So you need a good vegetable peeler, a good knife, a good cutting board, and as far as I'm concerned, a really good tongs to be able to pull up all the food to assemble. And then this particular recipe, I would freeze in freezer bags. And one tip, so this is one batch I already took out, and I just wrote beef stew bag 2 on here because Heidi's busy family, they'll probably make both of these in the same day. So on the other bag, I wrote if there's any special instructions. So it says beef stew, if you're cooking it from frozen, 7 to 8 hours on low in a crock pot, but 30 minutes before you want to serve, mix together 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water in a slurry and add to your juices. So that will thicken up the stew. And then when you seal these and go to freeze them, I know lots of you want to flatten them out and think you can stack them and it'll save you space. But I have to tell you, freezer meal has a little bit of a trick to it, because I'm wanting Heidi to be able to take this from frozen from the freezer and put it in her crock pot. So if I squared this out into the bag and made it flat, it's not going to fit in the crock pot when it's rock hard. So I always freeze my bag freezer meals. I kind of bundle them up like this. So I'll of course get the air out and fold the bag over, but I bundle them up to freeze them like this so that they can literally just peel off the frozen plastic and dump it right in a crock pot and it fits. So just a little suggestion there. And then I also usually tell them to open it up from the top, tip it upside down and peel it away. So I stack the protein on the top. So the protein's in the bottom of the crock pot to cook. So that's just a tip on beef stew. And I just use a big tongs and I'll go through and I'll fill the other bag. I will put all the vegetables in the batch, top it with the meat, take out the air, and then freeze it like this pouch, okay? So this particular recipe, besides the vegetables, so 4 vegetables, the beef, seasoning, you do want to put in at least a cup of tomato juice. So you put a cup of tomato juice in the bag after you've assembled it, all right? And if you like juicier stew, you could add a little extra if you want. And if you would really like the seasoning of thyme, go ahead and do that. Tonight I just used some salt and pepper, and you can probably actually see the salt and pepper and crushed peppercorn and garlic if you look close on that. So that is assembly number 1 that I'm going to do. And then I'm going to just scoop this. And assembly number 2, here's just a couple tips. So these are stuffed taco shells. And you know, 2020 has been a very interesting year. And so there are random things you cannot buy at the grocery store. And so this particular recipe called for the big shell-shaped pasta that you could just scoop and fill. But after stopping at multiple groceries, that's not an option right now. So I just used manicotti noodles and I boiled them just for the 7 minutes. Don't overboil these if you're going to do a stuffed shell recipe. And then I laid them out on parchment paper to cool so I would be able to work with them. And then since I didn't know until I was on my way over here that I wouldn't be able to get the shells, I should have brought along, like we have, it's actually a cake decorating set that's got the big end so you can pipe manicotti or you can pipe cannoli. Well, I didn't bring that, okay? So here's a trick for you. This recipe, you put a cup of salsa in the bottom of a pan to freeze. So I have salsa, and we just bought Pace mild salsa. The mixture, so I have the mixture here in another bowl because I needed to cool it a little bit so it would be workable. This is a pound of sausage, a pound of ground pork. You brown that, you drain the grease, then you add in Southwestern seasoning, 3 tablespoons of Southwestern seasoning, again from our spice line, and you add a cup of black bean and corn salsa. You stir that all together, make sure it's blended well, maybe heat it for a few more minutes, then take it off the heat and let it start to cool, and then put in 3 cups of grated Kojak cheese, okay? So you have that filling, sausage, ground pork, Southwestern seasoning, black bean and corn salsa. Oh yeah, 1 can of green chilies and 3 cups of shredded cheese. So you let that set up just a little bit and cool. And then because I don't have my bag here to pipe, what I have found is the easiest, and I'm gonna scoop this again for you guys, is to take a manicotti noodle and actually set it up, stand it up in the pan, and then just use a small spoon. Do not get in a hurry. Oops, as I just dropped the first one out. Let it funnel down, and by having it stand up, it's not coming out the bottom. And then once you can tell that it's full, like that one is full, I'll lift it up from the bottom. Then you just lay it down in the pan and go to the next one. And if you didn't want to do this as a freezer meal and you wanted to make this for dinner right away tonight, that's totally fine. Go ahead and do this step. But then this recipe you need to cover with tin foil. And like, I'm gonna freeze it, so I will also cover it with tin foil, and I will put the instructions on the tin foil. But you bake it with the tin foil on for about 30 to 40 minutes if it's been frozen. And then you take the tin foil off for the last 5 minutes or so, put a little more cheese on top, bake it till that cheese is nice and gooey. And then when you take these out to serve, I really recommend that you serve it with some shredded lettuce. You can have that on the side. Some people like to add black olives or some sour cream, but it's just a really fun twist on like a stuffed Italian-based shell. This is a Mexican-based shell because it's actually a stuffed taco shell. So, and it freezes great. So I just wanted to pop on and give you guys that tip. I did use the famous mix and chop to ground the meat. I don't ever attempt to do a freezer meal without a great can opener. I never make just one thing for the freezer because truly, if you have a big skillet, you could be browning 5 pounds of meat at a time, okay? If you happen to grocery shop at Fairway, quite often they do their 10 pounds of ground beef on sale when you buy a 10-pound tube. I immediately brown 5 pounds of it. You can separate it then and freeze that already browned if you want to make the step quicker for the next one. Or you could just take half and make freezer meals out of it and then take the other half and portion it into pounds or 2 pounds or whatever your family needs and put it in the freezer that way. So a little planning for freezer meals goes a really long way. And for all of you that have hectic schedules, this is such a time saver. Like if you're gonna do all chicken freezer meal recipes tonight, then do all chicken with ones that have maybe some similar ingredients. Like maybe you're gonna do chicken broccoli for one, maybe you're going to do chicken Philly steak sandwiches for another, maybe you're gonna do Greek chicken. So then you're using similar products, you're using similar utensils that don't have to be washed in between all the time. And it's really fun to share the time with a friend or family member. So I guess I'm gonna challenge all you guys. It's Wednesday, it's hump day, we're into fall now. Why don't you make a couple freezer meals and let me know. Post in the comments. If you have some favorite freezer meal recipes, post in the comments. I'm super excited. I just found a recipe for sweet and sour pork that I think will be a hit. As I take freezer meals to my kids in small batches, my parents, some neighbors. It's just kind of a game changer, and honestly, it saves you a lot of money on your grocery budget too. So if I can help you with anything, ask me questions, but remember, good knife, good cutting board, probably a good kitchen shears too. I missed mine tonight. Can opener, mix and chop, good tongs, measuring tools, and you're ready to go. And then the seasonings tonight's used was Southwestern and crushed peppercorn and garlic and good old salt and pepper. So see you later, everybody. Thank you for joining me.